Dominated part of last night's debate among the 8 Republicans who have officially announced that they are indeed running for president in 2012. It was the second time the White House potentials gathered on the same stage, and much like the first debate in New Hampshire, the candidates were all grasping for time to speak. The perceived frontrunner, Mitt Romney, managed to stay largely above the fray. When criticized by his fellow candidates, the former Massachusetts governor shrugged it off. So the remaining 7 turned their attention to one another. The biggest back and forth came from former Minnesota Governor and Tim Pawlenty and current Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann. Pawlenty slammed Bachmann's legislative record, calling it light on accomplishments, while Bachmann blasted Pawlenty for allowing taxes to go up while he was in office. Now, the debate comes before a very busy weekend in the Hawkeye State. The Iowa State Fair is taking place, and the state GOP is holding its traditional straw poll, which has often propelled candidates to success in the January caucuses, or not. Senator John McCain, for example, finished second to last in the 2008 straw poll, and then he still became the party's nominee and then went on to lose in the election. So overshadowing all of this is the news that Texas Governor Rick Perry is going to throw his hat into the presidential ring, officially launching his campaign tomorrow and stealing all the thunder from the straw poll. There are still several other prominent Republicans who appear to be quietly mulling a run. It's a mess, basically. Joining me to break down this evolving GOP field is former New York State Republican Party Executive Director Brendan Quinn. Your party, man.
It's interesting. Not dull. It's not dull.
What is going on? Not dull. But, okay, so the thing is, the time is running out. I mean, I feel a sense of, when I talk to Republicans, I feel like a sense of a little bit of panic because they feel like they've got this moment to capitalize on because the president's numbers are really bad. I mean, just today in a Q poll, he's negative for the first time in Democrat-dominated New York. But the question is, who? Who?
Well, a lot of people have their doubts or questions about Mitt Romney, and they're looking for an alternative, but month after month after month, he's still the front runner, he still has the better organization, he still is raising more money, and it seems month to month there's a new favorite of who could be the one that takes on Romney, whether it was Newt Gingrich one month or Rudy next month, and all these other people, the names that keep coming in and out, and always someone dropping out.
Right.
And I think you may see a couple people drop out after the straw poll if they don't come into the top 3.
It can be a momentum building experience, right? And it can also be a meh sort of an experience. I mean, the real issue is McCain pretty much bypassed the whole thing and it didn't hurt him a whit. But there are some folks like maybe Herman Cain who, if they don't finish strong, are probably going to just have to bow out.
Some of them can make their whole name on coming in the top 3. It becomes a game of expectation. If you're not expected to come up in the top 3, Tim Pawlenty is a great example. He has a higher expectation from a neighboring state, and until Michelle Bachmann, he thought the Iowa straw poll and the Iowa caucus would be his.
Right.
And now that whole dynamic has changed with her in the race.
Yeah,
and
if he doesn't perform, he's in serious trouble.
Well, that's why there was such a give and take between the two of them last night. They just went back and forth. And it's a separate fight between those two for Iowa and the whole Midwest, and I'm the Midwest candidate.
Yeah, and also they're from the same state, so it seems so personal when the two of them go at it. Plus, she's the only woman on that stage, right? So there are all these, it brings up a whole different dynamic. Not to say that she can't hold her own, because she can be quite, a tough broad, right? So
she's a tough woman. She's accomplished a lot, but it looks like it's a family fight.
Right.
And you're at some event, and here's the 2 siblings off on the side from Iowa having the fight, and it's a distraction from what's the real goal.
Yeah, well, the real goal, again, let's remember, the real goal is President Barack Obama. That's your goal. And again, he's doing not so fabulously. And if you look at poll after poll after poll seems to indicate that there is room there. And yet he was in New York City last night raising money hand over fist, more than $30,000 a head to get in to spend 5 minutes with the guy and maybe have a glass of wine. Meanwhile, it's a free-for-all on the GOP side.
It's expensive wine. But if you
well,
look
there's some food involved too, I think.
But if you look at Romney goes into these, and no one's landed a punch on him.
Yeah.
And he continues to increase the gap.
There's there, right? I mean, there's Romney Care, for example, right? The Massachusetts version of the health care reform that was like a major deal. There's Taxachusetts. I mean, there's all of these things that you could actually be going out, and the guy seems to be just sort of shrugging it all off.
He's shrugged it off. I wouldn't say that he's Teflon. He handles himself well. And given where we are in the economy and debt limit, those items, those issues are right in his wheelhouse and his strength, so he looks better.
True. Okay, here's another interesting little thing to throw into the mix. There was a CNN poll this week that found that Perry, when he comes in, and we know now that he will, he's going to come in at number 2. That's quite a debut. And if he could do maybe a strong write-in, and there are some people who are pushing that in the Iowa poll, he comes out smelling like a rose. Then you also have Sarah Palin, who is now at the Iowa Fair, not because she wants to pull any attention away, right? She's not going to participate in the straw poll, but she wants to keep her options open. It's quite clear.
Go check how many books are on the bus.
Yeah, right, indeed. So here's the question. Rudy Giuliani. He's our hometown guy.
Yes.
The CNN poll shows he is the only Republican who can beat Obama, 51-45. He's the only one who comes out ahead. Is he going to run?
I don't believe he runs. I don't think he can do it. I think this keeps the brand alive. It keeps him going. I think it's still a dream, and he wishes it could happen. But the Republican primary, when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of the conservative voter that shows up, I don't think Rudy passes the smell test on a lot of those issues.
But Brendan, he was vetted in 08. I mean, what more is there to find about the guy?
It's not that you're going to find other items about him, but when you start talking again, his positions on gay marriage, birth control, gun control, he's not going to survive some of those states. And you have to get through those first 5 or 6 states, and you have to build momentum coming out of him, and I don't know how he does it. That whole Florida strategy failed. Well,
obviously, but he cleared the way. He did a serious service for other candidates, demonstrating that no one should ever actually put all of their eggs in the Florida basket. He is now then, according to reports from the Associated Press, talking, or his people are talking to people in New Hampshire. Why do you bother to do that? Because you're concerned maybe about Rick Perry, who he once said he thought should run, supposedly. Now you're talking to people in New Hampshire. You don't talk to operatives if you don't intend, or he's just floating the trial balloon?
If there are people on his behalf, have they been given the go-ahead from him, or are they just looking to keep their options open because there's a certain group of people within the Rudy world that it helps them if he is a candidate?
If, in fact, there's a problem with those conservative voters, what do you make of this CNN poll that shows he's the only guy who could beat Obama? Because his name recognition is so high?
His name recognition is very high, but once you become the candidate, this is one of the problems that Rick Perry will have. He's coming in second today, but he hasn't been tested, and no one really knows where he is. Is he going to be too far to the right for some parts of the country? Is he going to have some positions that are not acceptable in some of these states? You have to be able to survive this regionally. Go to Iowa, go to New Hampshire, go to South Carolina, go to Nevada. You're all over the map. How do you survive those different states?
Are you speaking, by the way, regarding that you don't think Rudy's going to run because you have some inside information about that, or you're just hypothesizing?
I have no inside information.
Just checking,
no one's
because
talking with me.
I know that you're very plugged into GOP circles. So here's the thing: if in fact he did run, I'm surprised we're not seeing people like Dean Skelos or Ed Cox or any of these other New York Republicans begging for him to run, because Rudy Giuliani at the top of the ticket in New York would ostensibly be a good thing, and you're having the Senate Republicans fighting for their lives with new lines.
Yes.
And they could really have a problem.
Rudy on the top of the ticket helps New York a lot, helps other states in the Northeast a lot, but again, you have to get through that hurdle of the Republican primary.
And by the time you actually get to New York, because you guys changed the primary date, it's now April 24th. That is quite late in the game. It used to be in February, February 5th, actually. What was that all about?
There were some internal dynamics of the push and shove between the Democrats and Republicans over changing it, but the Republicans lost that battle. It got moved to April, and not being in the mix in February when other states are in play, when there still isn't a nominee, New York is not relevant. We don't play a lot in November in the presidential election. Now that we're out of play in the primary, by April, we'll have a nominee already.
Right. I mean, the Republicans don't play because there's not enough of them here. The Democrats don't play because it's assumed that New York is a Democratic state, and it's sort of a give for whoever the Democratic candidate is, except, as I mentioned, that Q poll today shows that Barack Obama is down. You think he's going to come back?
I think he'll come back, and also to compete in New York as a candidate, is extremely expensive because of the cost of the TV. And you start
Downstate.
looking at
Yeah,
the
downstate.
TV markets. If you're going to be competitive, you spent money in New York City, it can help you in New Jersey and Connecticut, but that's very expensive. You'll be spending millions of dollars per week, whereas if you go and play in other states, you're spending $500,000 and you're covering a couple states.
Okay, Brendan Quinn, who's the GOP nominee going to be?
Sitting here today, I believe it would be Mitt Romney.
Will he beat Barack Obama?
If he continues with the way he's handling the economy and debt limit, Romney can beat him.
Interesting. Okay, you've heard it here, folks. I will make no predictions. Thank you very much, Brendan.
Thanks.
It's great to talk to you.